life is really, really hard with 7 other people.
Yep.
Just the challenges of young people trying to live together, coming from very different backgrounds. Although the model was originally based on that and is meant to be structured with people coming from very different backgrounds. Yeah. Our diversity is I consider it to be very high for the number of clients that we've served so far. And so we want to engage in that. But yeah, I'd say that's probably one of the biggest obstacles is just managing the house.
It's the day-to-day things that people forget about. You know, is that like we talk about this and I mean, we are great, but there's the nitty-gritty too of just the amount of work. Because and thank the Lord for our community partners, and all that, because otherwise it'd be crazy. But we're a working board, which means that we're also volunteers, and with one staff.
Yeah, we have one part-time staff, and that's the person who lives in the home.
Yeah, and so
we don't have an executive director. We exist completely by private donations right now.
Yeah.
So we have not, that's been a challenge. Funding is our challenge. How to fit in. So, most of the big grants for housing require you to have at least 2 to 5 years of housing experience.
Yeah.
That means we have to make it to 2 years on the support of individuals in the community. We're going to make that.
Yeah.
We're confident now, but it's because of things like Crew Knoxville and their events that they host, or Sono Pride and the way that they supported us. Those things matter to us.
And that's just a couple of them too.
That's only a couple.
We probably can't remember everyone.
We had so many in June.
Yeah.
I mean, we just seemed to emerge as people's organization of choice, I guess.
Yeah.
Appalachian Outreach has been a huge supporter of ours, a partner of ours, and they are, I often send people to them who either don't fit our criteria or who are, struggling with housing insecurity or food insecurity or things like that. Knox Pride runs a pantry. We send people there sometimes when they're struggling or with legal help. Again, South Presta's name change work sometimes, and they bring in legal counsel and stuff like that. So there are lots of ways that we share that burden of providing for our people in need. And I think our board would agree with me 100% when we say we will engage with anyone who wants to do that.
Yeah.
We will. I mean, I'll work with anybody.
We're super grateful for the ones who have, because one that has also been a huge supporter has been the Appalachian Equality Chorus.
Yeah.
Who has been huge for us too, putting on multiple
4
events.
shows this year.
That give us a lot of funding too.
Free mom hugs.
So.
Love us, we love them. So we do everything by volunteers, one. They provide case management, and they provide money for their young people. We provide a house. Some of our residents have in the past used their case management services, but when they get to a point where they don't want to apply for housing, they want to stay and do more, they become sort of inappropriate for that program, because theirs is more of that. We want to put you in a hotel room or put you somewhere for 30 or 60 days. That's their model, and it works for a lot of young people. We find that it's much more of a challenge for LGBTQ youth, and particularly the youth that are in our home.
I think
right now,
granted, I probably don't know as much as you when it comes to us compared to youth wins, but I think having that safe space, stable, permanent housing where the residents can have their journey through that gap.
Yeah.
I think that's what's critical, because it's a whole, we're talking, 17 to 24, which, I'm at the tail end, and we know the terrible choices that we all make, So, there's just your own personal growth and character journey through that. So then when you have to add all these problems on top of it, what they need is that solid space to go through all those things, along with what Sean, talks about providing through that social community engagement and through those partners, is that, it's almost this whole holistic human experience that we take for granted. Of like, I know my privilege in having a house and having, a car, stable job, all that stuff, but what about the people who are around me, consistently, and who are supporting me? And so I think that's where we're a little different in that way.
Oh yeah, I think that's where we're very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very accurate. Well, we have 9 board members, me. And then we have a really amazing partnership with the College of Social Work. I'm a social worker of 30 years, and my real job, for lack of better words, is full-time for the College of Social Work. I supervise students. So we offer a field placement opportunity for MSW students and BSW students. And they come and they do, when you talk about youth wins, they do all of our linkages, which is case management. That's what you're talking about. So we have 4 volunteers. They do linkages. Then we have a clinical student who's there to listen. And then we have an organizational leadership student and those guys have actually helped build our organization and get our structures in place. Policies, procedures, job descriptions, the whole 9 yards. They have really, that's what they're training for, to run and manage an organization. So we utilize even that. We utilize academia. Cole was with us in the beginning as a communications student.
Yeah.
That's how you got your start.
Yep.
And so Cole then did social media for us and did other things even as a student, and then transitioned and then became our board chair. So overall, I'd say we've in the past 18 months probably utilized 30 volunteers. But yeah,
we do more as needed as well. When we have specific events and things like that, we'll call for volunteers.
I guess in thinking about volunteers, there are a lot more. I mean, Melissa and Michael Major do all of our health care, and they do it voluntarily. They don't charge our residents. And then there's Nourish Knox, and they bring us food every week from the farmer's market. They built us into a grant, fresh food, fresh fruits and vegetables to, help with our health. And so it goes on and on. We have upwards of 15 partners.
I was going to say, I think upwards you could go anywhere. Because it's really at the point where everyone surrounding the house is a volunteer.
Yeah.
I would say even the part-time staff member is often volunteering. So,
yeah.
In a sense.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, yeah, everyone.
It's my life purpose, hands down. I know why I came to this earth. I know why I've experienced the life that I have, and it is to do this. It is to have started and do this very thing. I want to be a mentor to them. As the CEO, I don't really want to run everything eventually. I just want to talk about what we do and why it's important. And I want to spend time with them. Whether we're taking them on an outing or going downtown, I want to show them how they can be okay. And I don't want it to take 35 years for them to get there. It took me a long time to be okay. I don't think it needs to take that long. And I want them to experience that at a much younger age. That's why I do what I do. I think the people who come to us they want to be part of that community. They want to be part of our community in a meaningful way. And that looks different for everybody, but it's consistent. They show up at exactly the right time, fill a void that we have. If we find a hole, poof, somebody's right there.
Yep.
And just like, I want to do this, and then it just lines up. So it's really serendipitous a lot, but you can talk about why you do what you want to do.
Well, you see why I'm inspired, right? Because I get to work with Sean. And so that's a huge part of it. I think for me coming in, I kind of said earlier, I wasn't as connected with the community to begin with, despite being part of it. And, I think one of my ways of like showing love, or a sense of being in a part of that is service. And so that's a huge part. But I think I've gotten more out of the experience of working for and with, Bryant's Bridge than what I had anticipated. And, a lot of that is just a few moments where you pick up on the joy in the residents, to know that that's an important moment for them each time, because I've had my struggles of being queer as many other people, but to know, when I think about those struggles and when I think about particularly my anger in having that, and what brings me kind of back down is to know that, one, let's look at these folks who are dealing with exponentially worse, than what I'm having to deal with, imagining what their emotional state is, and knowing that I can help make that better, in any way possible. So every day that they're in the house and they've got somewhere to sleep, something to eat, and a reason for the next day is a success, compared to where they would be at before. That's what drives me, is just knowing that, where they would be without it. And in the state of the world, looking at ourselves and being like, what are we doing? And are we part of that solution? So.
And we're committed to not quitting on them ever. Whether they have leave our house as a winner, whether they leave our house for an issue, we don't give up on them. And so, like, one of the things I love, our very first resident, he was kind of like the poster child for us for a while. And he still is. He'll do it. He loves Bryant's Bridge. But he went from this sort of, and he'll tell you, shy, kind of broken little guy. I mean, he was like gregarious and very wonderful. But he was terrified of the police. Now he has a job at the city county building, working with the police all the time. He's so confident. He's an amazing artist. He has so many things, and he had all those things, but he didn't have the opportunity to put them together. But now he has his own apartment. He's fully self-sustaining, great benefits, and that's what we love for. That's what we want in the end.
Is what's always so impressive to me is the word of mouth in the community. I mean, it is strong. And that is largely due to Sean, and that's about being there, right? Just showing up, doing the thing. Sean, I don't even want to know how many meetings a week, or all the things, that he's at. It's a lot more than me. And, but that's where you gotta be. You gotta be in those spaces. And so I think with this community specifically, that's been the biggest impact, is watching how we're all connected with each other. Beyond that, it's pieces like this. Earned media is huge, as we know, and as much visibility as we can get as an organization we're going to take. And, and then beyond that is the age of social media, just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I talk about putting the house together?
Yes, yeah.
So, Nico purchased the house for us on November 10th. We closed on the house. It was a great day. And we walked in and was like, oh, it's very empty. One of our board members, Shanae Doherty, just threw out a little campaign on social media and said, hey, we need some help furnishing this house for LGBT youth. 3.5 weeks. Youth groups of kids showed up from churches and civic groups. Furniture arrived so fast I couldn't even get it in the door. Every single day I'd go by and try to get it in the door, and the piles would be so hot. The community furnished our entire house outside of the living and dining room furniture because we wanted specific things in 3.5 weeks. Had it built, ready to open on December 22nd.
Yeah. So it's about, I think this is part of why we're so successful in this age specifically, is the community and how we reach them in those social media spaces, because we get overwhelming support there.
We do.
So.
Can't deny it.
So it should be at Bryant's Bridge, on Instagram, Facebook, it's just Bryant's Bridge. And I think that's our main two of where we're at.
They can do everything through our website. We have had a partnership with Epic 9, and they adopted us, and they built our website. And so on there, you can apply to be a board member, you can apply to be a volunteer, you can apply, you can donate, you can apply to live in our home. And then it just automatically translates it to us so that we can keep up with that. And that makes it really easy when we're all volunteer.
Well, I think that's where Sean doesn't give himself enough credit sometimes, is that it is a good idea. And I think a lot of people would agree, yeah, we should eradicate youth homelessness, for our LGBT community. And all that can be great, but it took Sean, doing the steps and executing it, along with, our supporters, of course.
Yeah.
But Sean's the man in the arena. It's not
we
as much
use a perfect social work model. When he says the holistic human experience, what he's talking about is something called the person and environment model, where there's a person and we look at all facets of their functioning. And then we try to make sure that before they leave, they have something in those areas. Everything from, like I said, physical health, mental health, spiritual health. Doesn't matter who you are, but those things are important. Social life, work life, education, non-social supports.
Sometimes that's the part that's overwhelming for the residents, I think, coming into that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's like, we feel, and I'm not a social worker, so correct any of this. So I'm like, but from what I know with myself is that sometimes it's actually harder learning to be safe. When you are so used to survival mode all the time. And so when they come in, that can actually be the harder part of the transition, is them knowing that all of this is there to support them, and how they could take advantage of that. And that's where it gets into the client choice and whatnot, because that element of client choice, of them just choosing to be supported, is kind of the first most critical steps that they have to take.
And you can see it hands down. When they first come in, we have, as our evolution shows, learned a lot, which we set out to do, because I believe in client-driven agencies. But they first come in and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do this. All of them, every one of them. Yeah, I'm gonna do this, and this. And they get, all of a sudden they're in the space of safety and that quiet, and they just collapse. And there's this period, I'll go with probably an average of 3 months, where they never want to leave. They just want to stay. They don't want to, they don't engage a whole lot. They do some, but just that it takes a little time to get used to the feeling of safety.
Reacclimation.
Yeah, exactly.
Before you can move forward. And I think that space of healing is also probably something that makes us different. We are committed to however long that takes. And it takes different people, different times. Some come in and they really do have enough a sense of self, and so they can, and they have like a goal. Like we had one young man, he came in and he wanted to reunite with siblings that were in foster care. He busted it. He went and got a job, became a shift leader, team leader, got an apartment in probably 3 months, 3 to 4 months, 4 months maybe. But others have been there for the entire 18 months. And just people have their own journeys.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Yeah, especially because they just, as you were putting it, they just came from that environment that even if maybe there was a roof over their head, they couldn't actually be themselves.
Safe.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly. Yeah.
The key is the safety.
Yeah.
And another thing that I think is very, very high, and I've seen up to 40% higher than the general population, is the idea or the experience of autism or spectrum. Very, very high in the trans community. Yeah, we have a great number of our folks have been diagnosed with that. And so if they haven't had the basic needs, it's really hard to even create the masks that require to go out and socialize. It's a different concept. So it's another complication, I think, for some of them, but they're overcoming it.
I was going to say, it's another one that we rely heavily on our partners for, but we're so grateful for them because we have continued moving forward despite that.
Yeah, we've been working with Breakthrough, which was once a place solely about autism, but kind of moved into a bigger space. And they're interested in working with us in the LGBTQ community to provide safe homes or long-term options for folks who may need supported living or a little bit of extra supports related to that or mental health issues. And so, yeah, I'm excited about everybody that we work with. Everybody's got a place. It just comes back to that. Community creates change.
You know, the biggest thing is that if someone is a partner and they think they could support, please reach out.
Yeah.
You know, the main email is right on our website, but it's pr@bryantsbridge.org. And that's the website as well as bryantsbridge.org. So, you know, there's probably an area that if they feel like they can satisfy a need, that they probably can. The biggest thing too is donations are huge when it comes to supporting us. I mean, we are almost at that 6 month of being a completely sustainable model, but that's not including the other administrative expenses, a lot of the other expenses just of running a nonprofit, you know, and all that entails. And the fact that we do have to hire staff as well. And so, you know, donations are huge, especially recurring, even if it's small, like $5 a month. You know, I just think of it as like half a Netflix subscription or something, you know, like just kind of chuck that in and maybe steal your friend's account. So, you know, partners looking for us, recurring donors, and then just spreading the word about Bryant's Bridge, you know, is huge.